turns 19 and they have to leave the home, and then you have to move into smaller housing. It's very frustrating to have a child because, you know, I know with my own children, at 22 years old, they're still at home. 26 years old, they're still at home because they can't afford to live on their own.
Try 31.
For that, you know, for that issue alone, you know, your child turns to the age of majority and they have to move out. What other cultures in the, you know, suggest that your children are actually mature at 19 and must move out, and then you have to move because you don't have the same amount of members in your home? And so now you're being transitioned again to smaller housing and disrupting your little ones and the family dynamic. So you're actually tearing families apart, and it's the core of the family. And then we have children who, you know, even in my own family, you know, are drug and alcohol exposed, and then they don't have the same developmental age as a child that is 19. So my 19-year-old at 19 was really 12 years old. Could you imagine a 12-year-old living on their own? It just wouldn't work. So we have these issues, and they're real. We have children who have mental health issues, who have disabilities, that cannot live on their own, rely on their family support, and if this is social housing, why are they being forced to move? It's not very social.
Yeah, unfortunately I have to go, but I did want to offer some thoughts. The city is not the legal authority around housing, so BC Housing, provincial, and then we also deal with Canada, CMHC at the federal level, and the rental tenancy agreements in the office are all provincial as well. What we do is approve housing, or not, and we do provide city land, so we have some leverage, and I'll tell you from our perspective the most difficult thing for us, the definitions are way out of date. So social housing, that term probably made sense in the 1940s, but it can mean, in the city of Vancouver, it's based on average income by BC housing standards, so it could be social housing for someone making $58,000 a year, which is not my personal expectation of, I mean, it's not that that group doesn't need affordable housing, but it shouldn't be taking from the social housing dollars. So finding better definitions, and I know that's not your purpose here today, but if you're looking at next steps, rent geared to income, if you're making under $100,000 a year, you can't buy a house. So are we building rental for those people at $3,000 a month, or for people who need $300 a month? So we could use better definitions, because then when we approve housing, we can enforce those definitions. Right now, the categories are way too large, and the upper end will generally win in that equation. The second thing is that only speaks to who lives there. It doesn't speak to the quality of life there. And there really is nothing in the definitions around that. So pieces around what the minimal expectations of health and safety are should not be assumed. They should be clearly articulated in the definition of all categories of housing, and then that would give us an ability to enforce that quality, just the way we can enforce, you know, whatever the income threshold is. We have some ability to enforce that, and then we could also enforce the quality. And the last thing I would say is that the organized always beat the unorganized. That's how the world works. So one of the things we've been batting around is requiring BC Housing in any city-owned land that they have housing to have, they must have a tenants association in that building. But then it's a question of whether the community capacity exists to do that. So it might be a great pilot opportunity to do.
Because they got their tenants association.
Yeah. Well, and so this would be, I mean, I don't know how we can do it retroactively, but any new housing, we would absolutely require that it must have a tenants association.
Yeah, that's a critical part of what we were proposing, that there are people who live there, have a say in the management of their homes. It's so critical. And that's just a basic part of citizenship.
So if you guys can solve this problem, send me an email. No, I'll look forward to the report. I got to run off to this awards thing, but I'll look forward to it.
Thank you so much.
How would we go about getting tenancies and all that started when our manager only lets us see them from 8 till 8:30? We get to go and talk to the manager for half an hour. At 8:30, my kids are at school. And then what is it? 12:30 till 1, we get another half an hour opportunity window to speak to our managers. And then from 4 till 4:30 is another half an hour opportunity to speak to our managers. Any of you going to be able to speak to our managers on those times? Like, we can't not take our kids to school. 12 to 12:30, if you're doing any volunteering or anything, that may be your lunch or your break, so you don't get to eat lunch, because you gotta go run and deal with your managers. Like, that makes no sense that BC Housing would be allowed to have them type of hours when we're doing the best we can to survive and make a great community to live in. And things like that make it really difficult. Like, I don't understand why they're allowed to have hours like that. Nor do I understand why the managers that live there, their homes are beautiful. You know?
One person for 3 rooms.
Yeah, one person to a 3-bedroom house. Why is it that our managers get all this luxury? I understand that dealing with people like us may be difficult, but if you lived like us, maybe you'd understand us better. Like, I can almost guarantee that their houses don't have the cockroaches that our houses have. And we're not at blame. We're not the ones, you know, you tell us to keep our homes clean, where are we gonna get furniture from? We can barely afford food on our table. Where do we get a couch from? When bed bugs and cockroaches over and take it. And then to go talk to you about it, well, we can only talk to you between 8 and 8:30. So between 9 and 12, unless it's like a real major emergency, which I will give them credit for that. Major emergencies they do deal with immediately. Water breakage, toilet broke, they will come right away. Any of the other stuff, not so much. So if anybody's got solutions on how to kind of create and fix this problem, because I'm sure BC Housing is not the only housing going through this. I know we have hotels going through such things, so we need some suggestions for this kind of stuff.
And just to complete what Nina's saying, like, I myself have a situation that I have a 23 years old and he's supposed to be out of the house, and I live in a 3-bedroom. They said that I'm not allowed to live there, and he's supposed to move on, but my son is not ready, right? So, and doing the programs at Raycamp to know what's going on in the community, it's a way out for us to know what's really going on, and we don't have a tendency of, like, we don't have meetings with tenants. We know people that I walk and say hi. I myself, I know other people go with the kids, but I will hear people say that we need someone, a group of people to knock door by door, which, like, when we have programs at Raycamp to support families, I go door by door and meet people that don't speak English, whatever. We go there, meet them, and ask them questions what they need. And it's amazing that, like, from 100%, 80% of people, they need a better condition and also support for the members, the young kids, to stay in the family and not being taken from them by the ministry because they can't deal with it. And it comes after that situation because the stress that we put on us as moms and fathers and whatever, because the housing situation and also the community association in general there. And if it wasn't for Raycamp support or Strathcona or Britannia, we wouldn't know where to go. Because I don't know if we as a parent can walk to the students in there, excuse me, you know. Can you go up to no one? I'm still not in that one.
Is anyone here familiar with Mole Hill Housing Society? Mole Hill is this charming little place in the West End, and many, many years ago, it was threatened with demolition. And what happened was kind of a community coming together and saying instead of demolishing these beautiful old homes and building high-rises, why don't we build kind of a more community-friendly structure? And that was the beginning, working with a terrific architect, Sean. It was the beginning of the Mole Hill Housing Society. And so while we've said that housing providers are BC Housing or the Portland Hotel Society or Green City, housing societies can also be our Place Housing Society. And that's, I guess, part of sort of what we'd like to talk about for the future is, you know, maybe not only providing some supports for the current problems and situation, but also to look at opportunity to build something new. And I guess, you know, that was partly what was the opportunity or the excitement around 955. It was an opportunity to come together and articulate some of the basic principles we wanted to promote, like residents should have a say in managing their home. We didn't want to see segregation. We didn't want to see a poor person's entrance and a rich person's entrance. So we wanted to have a balanced, integrated physical structure. We wanted to have common space for people to have meetings. And so there were lots of different principles for new housing opportunities. And so my challenge is to you is what else? What else should the Our Place Housing Society be promoting with these opportunities for new housing? Are there other issues